Hey, hey everybody, welcome on in. I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips and we are here at the Clayshare studio. Hi everybody on Instagram. Hi everybody on Clayshare, Facebook, Vimeo, the Clayshare apps, which include Roku, Amazon Fire Stick or Fire TV, and on your smart devices. Whew, that's everybody everywhere. Happy Wednesday. So here we are. Every Wednesday at 5 o'clock we bring you Clayshare Live, which is a live broadcast that consists of me or somebody else, surprise guests sometimes, doing a fun little tutorial, answering your questions, and sharing some studio good times with you all. So tonight we're going to be talking about sprigs. You might not know what sprigs are. Well, you're going to learn. I'm going to show you how to make a sprig and also what you would use a sprig for. There's so many options. I've got some pieces here in front of me I'm going to share with you what sprigs get used for, and it is like 100 degrees in my studio, so no apron tonight, guys. It's just t-shirt. It's too hot. I mean, I got pants on, but you know, t-shirt and pants. There's no apron, but we have to wear pants. So sprigs are what I like to call clay stickers. You think about them as an embellishment that you would use to add a little something to your pieces. You can put sprigs on handles. Sprigs can be handles. You can use sprigs for feet, or you can actually stick them on a piece to accentuate a form or to create some kind of visual interest. I like to use them in all kinds of ways. You can also create sprigs to be jewelry. So let me show you some things we got going on. So here is sprigs as a handle. We have this tray right here. These knobs are actually sprigs, and they are, do I have the sprig? This sprig, this right here is the sprig. And we press the clay into it, we get the shape, and then you pull it out and then you add it to your piece. So it's like a clay sticker. Here's another handle, different, that is, oh, it's the same one, it's the same sprig, it's this sprig, but it looks a little different because I made it a little thicker and a little bigger, and I glazed it differently. So if you look at these two here, the glazing, I did the same glaze so that they kind of blended together seamlessly. This one, I did it with a different glaze combo because I wanted it to pop. So sprigs for handles, I've actually done tall pouring vessels and ewers where the sprig is the handle. I didn't bring it here, it's at my other studio. I didn't want to travel with it because it's one of my art pieces and I just don't trust myself to put it in here right now. So handles, great way to use sprigs. Embellishments, I put a little butterfly on this origami berry bowl, which we'll be making in our private broadcast at 6:15. So we'll be making this bowl together. Here's one of my grenade cups. I'll show the folks on Instagram, show you all the grenade cup. So the grenade is a sprig that I made from I sculpted a grenade, fired it, took the bisque grenade, pressed it in the clay, made a sprig. Do I actually have one here? Let me see if I got any in here. Made a sprig from it, that's this, and now when I press clay into it, I get the grenade, which I can attach to whatever I want to attach to. I did the same thing with a Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor. So anybody out there in the Marine Corps, I got an EGA, which I'm not allowed to put on pieces I sell because I don't have permission from the Marine Corps. That's a copyright issue, but I can put it on pieces for gifts, because I'm not selling it, so I can get around that. But you can get permission from the military if you're using military insignias in your work. Other things that we can do, this butterfly is a pendant that belonged to my gram, and I turned it into, you can see, a sprig mold. So now, this is not the original butterfly, but the original butterfly is safe, put away in my jewelry box, but now I can make copies of that, of a pendant that belonged to my grandmother. It was actually a pin. So, oh, hey, Charlene, I'm glad I've helped you so much to learn how to make many types of pottery. I love that. I love to hear that. Now, this right here was a strand of pearls that I pressed that necklace into the clay. It was a strand of pearls my aunt gave me, and my mom's probably watching, and I don't know if they were real or not, but my aunt let me borrow them way back when I was like a teenager, and she actually gave them to me. So probably not real pearls. I have them somewhere, but I pressed them into clay, so now I can make a clay strand of pearls that I can attach to pieces. And I will show you some things like that. So we'll talk about that. The other things you can press in to make your sprigs are seashells. They make great sprigs. Acorns, acorn caps and acorn bottoms make great sprigs for feet. And then here's some more embellishments. I'll show the folks at Instagram first. So all of these elements around the handle, these are all sprigs right here that I attached to the piece at the same time I attached the handle. So that's when you do it, is when you're attaching your handle. So let me move these guys out of the way. Hey Kathleen, I'm glad you made it. I saw that Facebook had some issues for you, but you got back in. Hey Rev, glad to see you. So what can you make a sprig out of? Well, you've heard me mention some things. One of my favorite things to use are these wooden molding accents. And you can get these at your Home Depot, your Lowe's, your local home improvement center. And they're very thin, you can see. And it's really cool. Like, I love this design. This makes a really great handle for a big platter, like a very fancy ornate. Look at this. I mean, look at this. Wings sort of coming off. You see that? So here's the sprig for it. Pressed it into clay. Pretty hard. Often I end up breaking these after a couple uses. That's okay. You don't need this. This is what we're after. You want this. So here's one. Here's this great one I love to use. It's like a scallopy seashell, and it's actually the one on the front of this cup right here. So that's what you get there. And then this one, you can see it was longer. You see, did I bring the little part for it? It was longer, and I actually cut this side off because it was really hard pressing the whole thing in clay. Plus I wanted that piece by itself as its own sprig, which I made right here. So I've got a single sprig. But this one, these ends here, is this. And then on a piece of pottery, it's these handles. So this end right here, pressed in the clay, gets you this. You bisque fire it. You just bisque it. And then you use it afterwards, forever and ever and ever. These will last you, oh my gosh, some of these I've had for like 8 or 9 years. You can still get most of these same designs in like Home Depot. I was just there the other day. They've been selling them for like decades. So let's make some sprigs out of stuff. And I will need my assistant to run down and get me some nonstick cooking spray. So we are going to go ahead and prep up to make sprigs. And let's see, everybody's there. Hello, hi, we got people tuning in from Japan. Welcome. Welcome on in. Bonnie's here. Yeah, it's really fun. So the pearls are, oh my gosh, you make a bowl, put a strand of pearls about a ½ inch down from the rim, right? If you were in Sunshine Cobb's workshop that we are hosting on ClayShare, we had part 1 this past Saturday, part 2 is this next Saturday. She puts this textury skirt around her pieces. You might have noticed on her rims. Sprigs, make a skirt of sprigs. Skirt of sprigs, I kid you not. I mean, you could make so many things with these. Thank you, sir. All right. So, another version. So these were actually done with cookie cutters, but you could do the exact same thing with sprigs. You see how you get that embellished design on there. So you don't have to use a cookie cutter if you don't have a cookie cutter. Now, talking about sprigs, we're making our own, right? So we're making them out of found objects. We're going into craft stores or looking through jewelry boxes, going to flea markets, finding old bits of jewelry, belt buckles. This was a belt buckle I picked up for about $1 at a flea market. It is beautiful. It's a funky, beautiful pattern. Here's a little cameo that I picked up somewhere. And now I can make a little cameo and put it on things. Swan pin that I pushed in the clay. Jewelry is great. Jewelry is one of my favorite things. This was actually my pin, my Intel pin from when I was in the Air Force. So this was the original, I still have, but it was silver, it was metal. I wore it on my uniform, on my dress uniform. And I pressed it in the clay to make a clay version so I could put it on pieces, you know. Another little wooden flower thing I have that I press in the clay. Little farm animal toys will work. Yes, Play-Doh molds will work. So you could press them into Play-Doh molds and then put it on your pottery. So like the farm ones is great if you want to go with the farm idea. These little wooden ornaments that I picked up, I think at, I don't even know where anymore, but you pick these up. There's a bunch of deer in here. I got some other Christmassy ones. I got like the old pickup truck with the Christmas tree in it. You know, these things you press in the clay, you're probably going to break them when you press them in the clay. That's okay, because what you want is the pressing, not the original for these. Now jewelry, like my grandmother's butterfly pin, and we'll use that in a second. My grandmother's butterfly pin means a lot to me, and I wanted to have a way to preserve it. And so I very carefully pressed it in the clay without damaging it and then put it away. So now it's safe, but I can make clay versions of my Gram's pin. So I can have that part of my, my heritage, right? And I can put it on my pottery, which is very unique to me. And so it's a way to personalize your work too, because you can tell a story through your pottery by including these little bits of your past. And you know, I always believe that everything we make has a bit of us in it. And I believe that all the objects we use develop this patina of like experiences through use. So it's that platter you used every Thanksgiving with your gram. The platter becomes so meaningful because you used it with your family every year. It's not necessarily that object is such a valuable object. It's the fact that this platter was, you know, used every holiday when your family got together for like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And now all those years later, you look at those pieces, and I know a bunch of you out there have these in your home, and you cherish them because the piece probably is not worth very much itself. If you searched up its monetary value, it's not worth much, but through use and time and those collective experiences we've had together, sharing those holiday meals with your family, that piece is priceless. So you can use heirlooms from your past, jewelry that has belonged to family members or yourself. Create pieces like this that will be used in your family for the holidays and passed down. So if you have children or grandchildren, you know, 50 years from now after we're all gone, they will be grandparents serving with that platter to their grandchildren, and that platter will be priceless to them, not just because they are using it through all those years, because you made it. So that's kind of one of the things that my artwork is all about. It's all about the idea of objects and those objects being used and how they develop that patina of meaning over time, those layers of meaning through the use and you know, gathering and such. So that's a little deep, I know, but we must forgive me. I can't help it. I am a scholar, and I'm very much into the meaning of things and why we do what we do. So let's start, and I'll start you off by making a couple sprigs, and we'll walk through the process. Now, I do have a class on ClayShare that'll teach you all how to do this. If you want to see it without interruption, no comments and conversation, because this is live, but we're going to do it right now. So you went around your kitchen on Monday and made about 20 molds by pressing them into cabinet door handles. You are awesome. I think that is a beautiful idea. That is not a thing. You're not a weirdo, Katie. No, not at all. I do that. I actually will put slabs of clay in my car, and I will go out and like press them into trees, and I'll press them into like fencing and stuff. I mean, anything that has a texture or you can use in your pottery, step outside into your world. If you live in the city, look at the sewer grates, look at like the buildings. Sometimes they have cool ironwork on those. There's so much out there you can gather. And by doing that, you're creating these textures, these little embellishments, these patterns that you can then create a vocabulary that is meaningful to you. It creates very interesting pottery, but also very unique pottery, something that has a lot of meaning. So yeah. All right, so I've got some clay here. Hello from Chile, Australia. This is just scrap clay, and we're going to be making these sprigs. So it doesn't have to be fancy clay. Just use your little scraps. How can you take out the clay from the bisque? I'll show you. They don't stick. The clay doesn't stick to the bisque at all. No, because the bisque is still porous. So it releases it really easy. Don't have to worry about it. So I'm not even de-airing this. I'm just rolling it into kind of a fat coil. And let me just throw these down the line while we're talking about sprigs. Say you don't have anything in your life that you can press into clay to make a sprig. So you can go to a hobby store and you can buy these little fondant mats. If you want to go buy stuff, you can do that. You can get these fondant mats, gum paste mats, and you can use those. They're basically a sprig mold, and you press your clay into that, and you can make them for your pottery. But I teach everything. You know, I teach people how to use commercially available products, but also how to make something that might have more meaning to you because it's got more of you in it, right? All right, so we're gonna roll this into a bit of a fat coil and then make a sprig. What are we gonna make a sprig of first? Let's grab something. Above? Got that. Let's do this guy right here. This right here. So wooden things are easy. They usually release naturally. You don't have to worry too much about them being sticky. You want your clay to be fairly thick because you have to have depth. You have to have something you can press into. And you want your little strip you're going to press into to be fairly even, or else your sprig will be uneven and then you'll get this wobbly sprig. So I cannot read on the comments on Facebook. If you scroll up so I can read that. Jackie just got some of those from Joanne's. Yes. So you have red clay and you don't like it. Can you use it for sprigs for your white clay objects? Yes, you can, because once it's fired, the color is not going to transfer. So you can. All right, so we're going to use this, and you see I rolled it out. It's at least a ½ inch thick. It's pretty thick. Are we on camera 3? Just so I know. Okay. So you can roll them out pretty thick. Now, if your clay is really dry, you're going to be fighting with it. So try to make sure your clay is fairly damp. Mine is just reclaim that's been sitting in a bag for goodness knows how long. Now this will release on its own pretty easily. If you're using something like metal, jewelry, plastic, stuff like that, you might want to spray it with some sort of release. You can try cornstarch. Cornstarch works well. My problem with cornstarch is it sometimes fills in these fine details. This has a lot of really fine little parts that I want to translate into my clay. So what I do is I use the nonstick cooking spray, or PAM, and I'm just going to turn sideways so that I don't spray it on my workboard, and I'm just going to squirt a light coat of PAM. It won't hurt the clay, it'll fire out, it's not a problem. And then we're just going to press it in, and you just really press down hard, and I'm going to start in the center. And you want to press it down so hard that it's becoming even with the top of your clay. Well, my head has to go somewhere, honey. Maybe check camera 2. Oh, it's not lined up. Maybe we'll get camera 2. If you're having a hard time pressing with your hands, guess what? Rolling pins will work. And just roll that down that side, and then we'll come back and we'll roll down this side. But you want to have a lot of leverage, and you really have to push it in good. And this is why sometimes we do break them. We break them. Did you hear that snap? I think I did break it. But I've used this so many times. I have like 3 or 4 sprigs of this design. So eventually it's going to break on me. So be it. All right. Let's see what we got. Make sure we're focused for you guys. Actually, come in. Come here. Come in. You want to see this, right? Let's get you focused again. All right, here we go. Just going to lift it up. Look at that. Look at the detail. Look at the texture on that. It's amazing. And that is what your clay will get. So let me show the folks on Instagram because I know they want to see. Look at that. It's gorgeous. So what you do now, you leave it sitting right here. You don't take it off your workboard. You let it dry. What you can do, here's mine that I have, that's my finished one. I'll get the focus for you. So what you can do is there's a lot of excess clay here. You might notice I cut away a bunch. Don't cut too close because you don't want to disturb your design, but you can go in and you can cut close to your pattern. This also gives you more clay to recycle, so you can make more sprigs. So it's a win-win. All right, so you leave it dry. You can cover it, you don't really have to, you just want it to dry. Sit it to the side. Once it is completely dry, you are gonna bisque fire it. If you're concerned about it needing some more airflow because it's thick, you can see I did this on this one. I stabbed the sides with my clay knife just to let some more air get in there to help it dry. But if you dry this all the way and then fire it on a nice slow bisque fire with a good 3-hour preheat beforehand, that's a candle for those of you who are using that term. If you do that, you'll end up with this, a bisqued piece. You do not need to fire it to its top temperature, and you do not need to glaze it. You leave it raw. It's now your sprig. So that's what we have. So we went from this to this to this, which gives us this beautiful piece that we can make handles or feet or all kinds of things with it. So you have a pair of your mother's rhinestone earrings with screw backs. You can make sprigs of those. You sure can, Linda. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So it's a really fun thing. You can go outside and gather stuff. Seashells are fun if you live at the beach. So you get it, right? You get how to make a sprig. That all makes sense.
Some questions about warping when it dries.
So they might warp a little bit. This one warped. Hold on, let me pull it back. This one warped, but I still use it because here's the thing. I don't want it to stay flat anyways. It's going to go on a pot. It's going to get wrapped around the side of a bowl, or it's going to become the rim of something. So it can warp. It's not going to be a big deal. The only time I would not want warping is if I'm making earrings and I want those earrings to stay nice and flat. But big pieces, you're not going to make earrings out of. Little pieces, you make earrings out of, right? So you don't have to worry about that so much. And bigger pieces will tend to warp on you. So let's just take, let me just show you. With a fresh piece of clay, like, okay, made a sprig, and we can use this one too in a minute. You just roll out your clay, and you'll wedge it, you'll prepare it and everything. Does it work better with grog or without grog clay? Doesn't make a difference. It works equally well with both. Making sprigs doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. No, I haven't found, I mean, the only thing you're going to run into is if it's a groggy clay, you might have little bits of grog in here, in your sprig, and then when you press your clay in to make your piece that's going to go on your pottery, you might have little marks from the grog. So my preference is a nice smooth clay, but you know what? Texture is always good, so you can mix that up all you want. So we're going to roll this out to a fat coil. Trying to find, I have no room. How is it possible? So let's start on this end. So this is the one that I made. That's the string of pearls that I use that belonged to my aunt that she gave to me. So technically they're my pearls now, but you know, I've had them for like 28 years or something. So I guess that means they're mine. All right, so you got it all pressed into your sprig, right? Now we're going to flip it over, press it down on your clay, and then just carefully peel it out like that. Look at that. I feel like, do y'all remember Yan Can Cook? And he'd be, look at that. Because what he did was amazing, and that's pretty amazing too. So now you have this excess clay, which you'll just go ahead and you'll trim. You need to be able to control that back there. Wouldn't that be handy? So you just go along and you follow the edge here. And I used a lot of clay. I could have made a much smaller coil to do this. So you'll cut it out. Now you could make jewelry, but it would be a necklace that didn't move unless you embedded it with some nichrome wire and attached each little bead So yeah, this could be a crazy way of making beads, crazy beads, but see what we get? And so you can put that on, I mean, you could put that on something, right? Now, let me show you if I went ahead and just used, if you used just barely enough clay, because I did use an awful lot of clay there. So you got just barely enough clay, and then you press it in. And I'm pressing down and rolling with it. And you pull it out, and you see you still have to trim some, but not as much as I have to trim here. But you get it, right? Hand can't cook, you got it. That's right. Look at that. Because I think that's a great, I mean, look at it, right? It's amazing. You want everybody to look at it. So let's go ahead and make another sprig. I'll keep this out. What else we have? Oh, let's do that one that was a belt buckle. That was fun. So anytime you're passing by a Just Ken Clay, exactly. Just Ken Clay. So anytime you're passing a flea market or a yard sale, stop in and check out the jewelry. Like they'll have pieces for 50 cents or 25 cents. Sometimes you can get a whole like bundle in a bag, and they're probably inexpensive. Base metal jewelry, costume jewelry, nothing fancy, but you know what? It still can look great in clay. So stop and check it out, because if it's not something you're worried about destroying, you'll be more willing to experiment with it, right? So now you know what to do with your Mardi Gras beads. Exactly. The pearls I have, if you go to my Jessica Putnam-Phillips page, my art page on Instagram and on Facebook, you'll see a lot of work that I've done in the past, and I've got the pearls on there. So something like the belt buckle, well, it's a little different approach because it's flat, right? It's a little flatter shape. So we want to start with a flatter piece of clay. So you don't really want a coil. You want a thickish slab, but not too thick, because we're going to stick this on something. If it's too thick, you're going to have a hard time getting it to stick. So use your thumb to press it in. You cannot just roll it with the rolling pin. You know, you need your finger to get in there and press it into all those recessed areas to really get that detail to come out. Yeah, this is really fun. I'm telling you, you're going to start looking at everything around your house. Knobs, buttons. I don't have any. I mean, I got a button on my pant. I could use that as a sprig. We can make a sprig off my pants tonight. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. You know, I've had a shirt with lace on it once and took that off. Well, I changed shirts and did use that, but I don't know if we'll use my button. So look at this right here. This is just a beautiful, see if the focus will get it. Do you see that? Look how beautiful that is. And then you cut it out and you put it on something. I don't know what, just put it on something because you're going to love it. Yeah, because I'm moving. Okay, so here it is. So you can see. Poor Kevin. It's killing him. All right, so you don't have anything you want to stick it on. Okay, that's fine. You just want to make jewelry from your sprigs, which you can do. You can use seashells to make sprigs for jewelry. Those are good. You can use other jewelry pieces to make sprigs for jewelry, right? Here I'm going to use my grandmother's butterfly pin, which I made a sprig out of. I used to show the original, but just handling it in the studio, it started to wear it down, so I stopped. So we're just going to make a little pancake. We found some picnic tablecloth weights that you can try. Ooh, yes. Oh, Carolyn, I love that. I love that this has encouraged you to come out of your shell and get back into clay. All right, so let's press this in. So I like to press it in all the way around, and then I have a trick for getting a nice smooth bottom. We haven't used smooth bottoms in a while, but it all comes down to smooth bottoms in ClayShare, always. One day we'll get that smooth bottom t-shirt together. All right, you've pressed it in good. Now turn it over. Using the palm of your hand, just press again to flatten the back. And now we have a beautiful little butterfly pin that is smooth on the back. And so you'll cut it out. I need my glasses. I got to get up super close so I can see. All right, so you just go ahead and cut right around the edge. And this is going to be a finished pendant that when it's dried, we bisque and then we glaze. What I would do with something like this is I would do a light celadon or a clear glaze, and then I would put it back in the kiln afterwards with mother of pearl luster, which is what I will show you in a second, a finished one, not how to put luster on, because that's a whole nother broadcast, which we have done. So you cut out your little butterfly friend here, right? And then, seeing if I had my little sponge, I don't, but you want to smooth your edges gently with a sponge, and now you have a clay butterfly. Now, you can go ahead and fire it like this, then you, see where I put my little butterfly? There it is. And then after it has been bisque fired, you glaze it. I did a clear glaze, and then you fire it again. So I have a finished one with mother of pearl luster here in my hand. And I'm going to show folks on Instagram the one in process, the finished one. I don't know if it'll focus on you. We'll go to the, well, I'll focus it. No, I'll just focus it. It's all right. Hold on. There we go. So you can see the finished, the one in process. I left this smooth because I'm going to attach a bail to it. Now, if you don't want to attach a bail, you could use these nichrome U's right here. They're made of nickel chromium wire. That is a high temperature wire that can go in your kiln. These are rated for cone 5, 6. And you have to make sure that whatever ones you use, they're rated for the temperature you're firing to. And you can stab this in, and you can have a hook embedded in it. The downside to using the nichrome wire is it turns black in the firing, and you can clean it up after and then paint it a color like bright silver or gold, but that eventually does wear off with time. So if you go with the nothing on the back, you attach your bail with some E6000 epoxy, then you just have a cute little bail. And if you don't know what bails are, look up Jewelry Findings, B-A-I-L. Or is it B-A-L-E? I can't remember. But it's one of those two ways of spelling bail. So you get it. B-A-I-L. That's what I thought too. So there's that one. Let's do the cameo now. How about a cicada? Well, if you can press a cicada into clay and it not smush on you, yes. But I don't think you can. Anything soft and organic like that is going to mush. So I would say probably not. But look, I'm open to experimentation and science. Give it a go. It might work. I know there was a woman called the Roadkill Potter who lives over in Paulet, Vermont. And she got her name because she would go around and collect roadkill, press it into clay, fire it, and make pottery with it. She'd use frogs. She'd use whatever was dead in the road. So, I mean, cicadas, okay. Give it a try. Maybe they have a hard enough body. And if your clay is soft enough, it could work. So now we're going to do this little cameo. Another tip is make sure your surface is smooth. If you have a lot of cracks or wrinkles in your surface, that's going to come out here in your pendant. Roadkill Potter, yes. So you have some difficulty getting your sprigs to adhere well to other clay bodies that you want to attach them to. You have to make your sprigs out of the same clay your piece was made out of. Yeah, or at least that has the same shrinkage rate. So if you are using a porcelain clay body and you want to make sprigs out of stoneware, or the other way around, as long as they have the same shrinkage rate, they should be fine. It's the shrinkage rate that's the problem, because what happens is one clay is shrinking more than the other, and one piece is going to pop off, like they're going to pull away, because there's more shrinkage than you have the surface area where it's adhesed, it's going to just pull off. So ideally, you use the same clay or one that has the same shrinkage rate as the one you are working with. You don't have to use the same clay as long as you make sure your shrinkage rate is the same. And that's something everybody should know about their clay. You know, most manufacturers will state it on their packaging. If not, you can figure it out yourself, because I have a class that'll teach you how to make your own shrink rule and know your shrinkage of your clay. So here we have that beautiful little cameo right here. She turned out amazing. I'm going to go to, I think probably maybe camera 2 with this to show it, because I think that's the one I can get closest to. I want to show the detail of the face on this for everybody. You got camera 2?
Yeah.
Nope, nope, focus on me. Me. Too close, too close. Look at the face. Folks on Instagram, hold on a minute. I'll get it to you. Look at the detail on that from a sprig. You can see her face. Like, it's amazing. You can see the detail. So if whatever you're starting with has very good detail, that will translate across into your sprig. So if you want very fine, ornate detail, this is a way to do it. The other thing you can do is if you want to put an embellishment on your piece and you're really good at sculpting, you know, and you want to sculpt this beautiful, maybe it's a cameo, and put it on a series of 100 mugs, but you don't want to sculpt that cameo 100 times. What you do is you sculpt one, Bisque Fire it, press it in the clay, you've now made yourself a sprig, fire that, and then you have your own sprig to go with. So, and that works. You could freeze the cicadas. Yeah, you could. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. You could freeze it. There you go. And it will be hard like ice, and you could press it in the clay. Thanks Brenda for solving that. For some reason my mind didn't go to freezing. So we've got this same thing. You can attach a bail to the back, or you can go ahead and put the nichrome wire. I'm going to put a bail on this. It's just too nice. I don't want that metal wire sticking up out of here. And what I'll do is once it's set up a little bit more, I'm going to go ahead and smooth it down with a sponge. So we'll put that off to the side with the butterfly. Now, another thing that I did earlier is I attached a sprig to a bowl. And so you just make your piece. And what I will do is usually I will have one of my damp boxes. And if you don't know what a damp box is, go check out my damp box class on ClayShare. But it's basically a Tupperware container that has plaster in it that you put some water in so the plaster absorbs it. And now you have this little box that has a lot of humidity. So you can make things like sprigs, and you can stick them in there. You can also make candles and put them in there. And then when you're ready to use them, you just open the box, grab them out, they're fresh. So if you made a mug, you don't have to worry about your little embellishment drying out. You have them ready to go. Or you do it the other way around and you put your mug in there, right? And then you make your embellishment and then you stick it. But if you're doing something like, some of my pieces have like 20 sprigs on it. And if you have that many, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on there. The time it takes to work each one of these into the clay and get it smooth like I want it, the other ones laying out would dry out on me. So you keep them in the damp box until you're ready to work with them, and then you pull them out. Now, here's a big one. You see, I just put that across the front. I mean, don't make it too thick, but you'll be okay. So what the little metal thing, hold your chain. A bail, yes. The bail is the little thing. It's like the back, it's a little metal back that has a loop that the chain goes through. And I have 0 things within reach that I can grab to show you a bail. Sorry. All right, I'm going to give away one of my favorite things that I made this last year. I did a series of plates that went to the Clay Studio in Philadelphia for, they did a Women in Clay exhibition, and it was part of the anniversary of the vote for women coming down. And so I did a bunch of plates commemorating women who were like groundbreakers in the military, like the first female jet fighter pilot, right? The first black pilot in the Air Force, people who were of note in the military. So part of what I did on those plates is around the borders, I did a lot of embellishments, and I used a lot of things. And one of them was a F-16 pilot. And so I took a little die-cast matchbox plane and to make little planes out of, which I should have brought that piece up with me. I didn't. It's at the other studio, but if I remember, I'll bring it later. You forget about Sprigs. There's a lot out there. So this one I actually do roll in with my rolling pin because it's pretty flat. And so I'm rolling in both directions. And then we'll turn it over, press it down, and pop it out. Now I've got a plane that needs to be cut out. You should have seen it. I had like 30 little metal planes and I was pressing them all in clay. The space shuttle did not work. I tried pressing a space shuttle, little die cast space shuttle into clay. It just didn't want to work. I haven't given up. I tried a helicopter. Helicopters don't want to get pressed in the clay, but fighter jets, they like clay a lot. Because their shape, it's just natural for it. So you cut it out, and now you've got this really great model plane. Now, we don't have any of the fin stabilizers here in the back, so you're going to have to cut some out, right, and make your own to be accurate. There. I need two, though, because planes have two. It's just how it is. Well, this plane has two. There could be ones without two. There's ones without any, but no, they all have some, don't they? Some little ones. And so, I mean, who knows? There could be some new secret aircraft, so we don't know about. But look, I made a jet plane. I'm leaving on a jet plane, right? So you can make a jet plane and you could stick it on something if it works with your art, right? Because random people aren't going to be sticking fighter jets on their pottery because you're going to be like, why are you putting fighter jets? Just like people always are like, why do you put grenades and flowers on your pottery? Because I'm a veteran and I served during wartime and I'm creating a statement about women in the military and service and ideas like that. So I put those things on my work because it makes sense to me. It makes sense for me. That's my voice. That's what I'm talking about. But it doesn't make sense for everybody to use that. So use things that make sense for what you do. Now, let's do some seashells. Let's sprig a seashell. And then I've got a great foot one too. You're about to go raid Legos. Legos are great as sprigs. Steal your kids' Legos. The next time you're walking through the house and you step on a Lego, go, before you cuss, you know, just zip it and be like, yep, that's mine now, kids. Thank you. I'm sticking that on pottery. Thanks, guys. I'm taking that. Kids' toys, very fun. And the great thing about that is you also have this other layer. We were talking about meaning, right? They're your children's toys. I mean, things that belong to family members they have a lot of meaning. And right now you might be annoyed that they leave their things around, but 20 years from now, that is going to be something that'll make you cry when you look at it, right? Because of the meaning it'll have. So maybe you want to put seashells on your pottery. All right, you can do that. Just press a seashell into clay, Bisque Fire it, and now you can make sprigs. Do I have my little acorn one here? Where did I put that little guy? This was an acorn, and I just pressed it bottom down into the clay. What if you dipped a dead cicada, all about cicadas, in slip, let it dry, then cut it in half and fired it? Would you get a little press? You would get a very thin one. You would have to have I don't think you get enough mass from your slip for that to work. Yeah. Don't know when I'll be back again, right? So this was an acorn pressed into a lump of clay. It's so hot. I have the fan on, and it's drying my clay out like nobody's business. All you folks in Texas, Arizona, Nevada, I feel you, because Vermont is a temperate rainforest with lots of humidity. Things never dry fast, and my clay is acting like it's in Texas right now. The Lego foot injuries has already made you cry. Can you use air dry clay as a slip? It's not, I mean, not in pottery, not in clay that goes in the kiln, you can't mix it with other clay. But you could use it with air dry clay if you wanted to liquefy it. I don't know how it would, how well it would work as a material, but try it out. All right, so I had to get some fresh clay because that clay was exhausted. Do I add anything to the clay to make it sturdier? Not for these. No. Have I worked with slip casting molds, making and using? Yes, I have. Right, so I do have, I think only 2 classes on slip casting on ClayShare. I plan to get into more, but I will. Oh, Dava, thank you. Thank you. And to your family as well for serving. Thank you. So here's our little foot. There it is. It's not fancy, but you would get 4 of them exactly the same, and it was an acorn. So it has this kind of natural, organic feel to it. And if I was making like a fern platter, one of my fern platters or something like that, I might want to use an acorn foot because acorns are found outside with ferns, so you get that in nature. If you were using oak leaves, yes, you want to use that. What else do I have over here? Oh, but knobs. Knobs. Somebody was mentioning they were going to go around their kitchen and start pressing clay into their knobs, or they did. This is the knob off of my dresser. It's not a fancy knob, sadly. It's just the knob that's on my dresser, but it's still a knob, and it's got kind of some cool stuff going on it. So let's see what happens.
Let Marissa know to just reload the web page.
Marissa, I see your comments. Go ahead and refresh your page. You should be good. All right, so we're working this in. Turn it over. Remember to get that smooth bottom. Press out the back. Pop it off. Look, I've got a button. I don't know what you'll do with it. It is a kind of cool embellishment. You could use a cookie cutter if you wanted a perfectly circle cut out, right, from the clay right now. But I just use my knife. That's kind of cool. Button, button, who's got the button? I got the button. You put the button on anything you want. So many things. So cabinet making knobs at Hobby Lobby, right? So I'm not saying, we can go to camera 1. I'm not saying go into Home Depot and Hobby Lobby with clay and start pressing it into everything they got there to see what their textures look like. They'd probably ask you to leave the store. But you could try it at first and see if they kick you out. If not, you could spend a couple dollars and get the shapes you really like, right? And take those home with you. What else do I have for little sprigs in here for us to play with? You can make a sprig from a stamp. Did you know? So say you make a stamp that you love. Let me grab a stamp. Get it where I don't know where anything is. It's all over the place in here. Where's that bolt? Sorry, folks, I'll be right back. I'm just going to get my stamps. Okay, so a couple weeks ago we made stamps together. And we're getting close to time, but we're all right. A couple weeks ago we made stamps together, right? We had a real good time making stamps. So now the stamps are out of the kiln. They're fired. They're ready to go. We can use them for stuff. So let's go ahead and normally I'd be wiping my hands in my bucket or wiping them off with a damp sponge, but my bucket and my sponge are in 2 separate halves of the studio and I can't reach either one, so we're going without. All right, so you love this stamp. It's your favorite stamp you've ever made. You love the texture when you press into clay, but that's pressing into clay. You want to create something that's not recessed. You want to create something that's proud. So go ahead and prep up a little chunk of clay right here, a little clay chunk. And you have to say chunk. That's C-H-O-N-K, chunk. My clay chunk. And we press it in. Press it down really far too because we want that recession. The only time you ever want a recession is when we're making sprigs. So right here, I have made a sprig. Now, I can't press in it because I'll crush it. But once I fire it, and you see my clay is getting way dry, that's why it's cracking on me. If your clay is doing that, then get different clay. But I can make a cool sprig, a little, that will match this. So imagine a piece. I got impressed parts, and I've got sprigs that match. And you can kind of play with the 2 parts and create this really interesting visual using these 2 pieces. Like, what's another one I did that I really liked? Oh, this is really fun. I don't know what this will do. Let's get another lump of clay. Undercutting. Yeah, you got to worry about undercutting when we're talking about slip casting and other things. But with these, because we're pressing down into the clay, it's automatically going to prevent undercuts. So we don't really have to worry about that so much in this. So let's go ahead and press this in. Because in order to remove it, it would wipe out any undercut. Oh, we can go so deep with that. Look at that. It's almost like a button right there. So that's going to become, that could be a foot, a cute little tiny foot right there. So that's good. I'm not even going to remove the excess clay. What else I got in here? What else do I have? There's this one. I got a whole bowl of goodies over there. So you could do a play on scale too, because we made big and little. You can make sprigs big and little, right? And so you'd have a play on scale. So you'd have inverted, right, and proud, and you would have larger and smaller together on a piece. So you could have things that are a little more complex going on there. So let's do this one. Positive and negative, exactly. I think it's really fun to play with positive and negative. All right, we're going to try this. I don't know if I made it quite thick enough. Press it down. If it's not thick enough, what happens is it just goes to the board underneath, and then I have a very thin bottom pot. But you can see that we don't have, look at that. That's crazy good leaf. I'm going to show the folks on Instagram how cool that is, and then I'm going to come up to you guys. Oh, focus. Work with me now, sorry. There. Can I come in closer, closer? My display hasn't switched.
The focus is not continuing the track, it's just like walking.
Sorry, everybody on Instagram is just watching me stare up at a camera. But you can see it, right? You can see it. From this piece here to this. All right, we'll come back down. And you guys get it too, right? So this right here is gold. This is gold because I made this. And then from this, I made this. So this is basically like a sculpture. And then I made this. So this is 100% all mine. And although other people can, I teach you how to do it, you make your own. It won't look just like mine. It'll be similar. It'll be like they're siblings, but they're not the same. They're not twins. And that's what's really cool about it. So I'm just going to cut away some of the excess clay. And then once these have dried, I'm going to put them in my kiln, bisque fire them, and woohoo! We're going to have a very good time. We're going to make some cool stuff. So there's some stuff with sprigs. What do I mean by undercut? And that's a good question, Liz, and I'll answer it. So an undercut is when the clay, it will wrap around. And then when you press something into it, you can't get it out because the clay is kind of gone under there. But if we look at this, it's angled. It's not undercut. Undercut would be going outward. And so that's when you run into trouble when you carve stuff. And that's a big problem in, when you make your own slip casts. So your slip cast molds. But this, because we pressed it in and pulled it out, the act of pulling it out would prevent any undercutting from happening. So we're kind of safe for this. So there we go. We got some sprigs. That's what we did. Look at the soles of your shoes for texture. Yeah, that's a good thing too. And so to test knobs in stores, you could put clay into a baggie, test the texture. Yeah, if you had the baggie between you, saran wrap might work better because you would have thinner barrier. But if you have fine detail like I showed you in that crazy good cameo, the plastic won't work, right? It won't get your detail. So if it has fine detail, it won't work. I mean, honestly, you can find knobs pretty cheaply at flea markets as well. So what do we got going on in Clayshare land? Well, do you know next Tuesday is Clayshare Day? That is the Clayshare birthday. That's our 4th anniversary of launching Clayshare. It's happening next Tuesday, the 15th of June, and it starts at 9:45 and goes to 8 o'clock at night. And we have got prizes, we have got demos, we have Q&A session going on. It's all free because we're celebrating our birthday, that we've been doing this for 4 full years. So although I have been making pottery for 21 years and teaching for 15 years now, ClayShare has only been around for 4, because that's when I started broadcasting live and doing classes and making ClayShare. So we're going to celebrate our day, and yes, there will be cake. So it's our cake day next Tuesday. We're going to have Speedball, we're going to have Mako, we're going to have Diamond Core Tools, we're going to have Clayscapes Pottery, we're going to have Flexi Bats, we're going to have GR Pottery Forms, we're going to have Amico. We are going to have Lee Pollard, who is one of our ClayShare members, who learned from me and then took what he learned and became a contestant on the Great Pottery Throwdown. Some of you might have seen Lee on there, but he's one of my students and one of our ClayShare family. We love Lee. He's going to be joining us from England, where he has just moved halfway across the country, setting up a new home and studio with a fellow potter from the show. So we're going to be talking with Lee about being on the show and afterwards, and it is going to be fabulous. You all are going to love it. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. Oh, Sandbow Studios with my underglazed decals is going to be joining us as well. Trying to think of everybody that's going to come on. So we only have one day, so there's limited spots. I couldn't ask everybody to be on it, but I wanted to have the people who've been with me from the beginning and people who've been really, part of ClayShare that I wanted to celebrate the birthday. And yes, at 8 o'clock at night, there will be cake. Drew will be joining us before cake, and we'll be doing a raku firing. We'll be talking about raku firing in kilns with Drew. And you know what? Any questions you have for any of these folks? Amico's going to be on showing their new glazes and talking about their products. Mako's going to be on there. I'm excited for that. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff. So ClayShare Day will be recorded. It's free. It'll be on clayshare.com and the ClayShare apps. If you cannot watch it live, you can go back and watch it afterwards for free. And it's just going to be a day full of birthday awesomeness. I might be wearing a birthday hat because ClayShare's my baby, so it's like my baby's birthday. And I'm pretty excited. I didn't have time to get a ClayShare Day t-shirt, but I might have, like, next year, it's my cake day, and have, like, ClayShare Day on there or something. We'll figure it out for next year, because next year's 5. This year's 4. So it's not as big. My mom says cake at 8, wine at 9, and we'll be publishing, yes, Jeff from BGR Pottery Forms will be there. There will be a schedule. I still have a few of our presenters that haven't gotten back to me with solid times, and I didn't want to put that up, so I'll go up tomorrow when I have definites from everybody. But I'm pretty excited for it. It's going to be fun, and I don't know if I'll be doing ClayShare Live next week, because I'm broadcasting live for 10 hours the day before. All you folks, you ever talk 10 hours straight to thousands of people? Well, if you have, you know that you might take the next day off, right? So I might take the next day off, but we shall see. So far, I haven't made good my promise to take time off. I take very little time off, but I can't help it. I love what I do. All right, new ClayShare class that we just put up, the most recent one, is the cute little, they're back here, air fern holder, which is actually the cactus planter magnet, but I'm using it as an air fern holder. So these guys right here, got some other classes. Right now we're working with Sunshine Cobb. We have her workshop, so that's really our classes that are happening this week, our Sunshine's workshop. If you haven't checked out Sunshine Cobb's work, check her out. It's shinybird.com. She's also going to be part of a panel tonight on sexism and ceramics.
She's
at Shinybird on Instagram. Exactly. Thank you. At Shinybird on Instagram and sunshinecobb.com. But Sunshine is on a panel that it's called Sexism and Ceramics. Go to her page. You can find out about it, and you can go and watch the panel for free. It's tonight at 7. It's really important. I don't think people realize, what happens sometimes. And so I think this is something we all need to be more aware about. So we should check that all out. I'm going to try. And let's see if we got any last minute questions. 24-hour live stream, Drew says. Drew, if you want to hang out with me after cake at 8, we'll do wine at 9. And then I don't know what happens at 10. 10, oh my God, at 10. I don't know. We do have Zen at 10. That's probably how it'll go down. Burr Zen at 10. Yeah, except I don't drink burr, so that won't work out. All right, everybody. Yes, take it off. Well, we'll see. All right. now at 6:15 tonight for my premium members, we have our private broadcast for prime time. We are going to be making origami berry bowls, or just bowls. These are berry bowls because guess what? I see you. We got holes in the bottom. But you can make these as bowls. Do have a class on ClayShare. I call it the berry basket because I made it look like a basket. But you can make this on ClayShare, or my premium members, come join me at 6:15 because we're going to be making that. Now, if you have not checked out ClayShare, go sign up for our free 7-day trial. We have an app. We are viewable on Roku, Amazon Fire TV. Are we on Apple TV too? We're on Apple TV. We're on smart devices. We have our own website. We got everything. It's all awesome. So go check it out. All right, everyone. You take care. Have a fabulous week. And I will see you for ClayShare Day next Tuesday. It's going to be awesome.